On the eve of the dance competition, my boyfriend locked me in a car in the hot summer day so his childhood sweetheart could win. Nancy, you'll have plenty of chances later. What's the big deal about letting her have the championship this time? I almost died of heat stroke and dehydration. When I dragged myself to the venue, half alive, my boyfriend was gracefully dancing with his childhood sweetheart. To stop me from going on stage, he disregarded my pleas and broke my leg. Nancy, forgive me this time. I'll make it up to you later. Scarlett saved my mom's life, and I have to repay that debt. On our wedding day, I dragged my broken leg to the hospital alone for an abortion. The moment he arrived for the wedding ceremony, all he saw was a bottle containing a fetus, with a note underneath, "Goodbye and good luck." Franklin, no, don't break my leg. Facing Franklin's gloomy and fierce gaze, I cowered in the corner of the backstage, shivering. Who would have thought that when I appeared before Franklin, barely half alive, I would be met not with concern and comfort, but with a scolding. Nancy Jiang, why didn't you listen to me? Do you know how important this competition is to Scarlett? You're a genius, and you've easily won so many championships. What's the big deal about giving her the opportunity this time? I was instantly stunned, and unspeakable grievance made me burst into tears. What do you mean, give? The winner of this dance competition gets to be the ballet troupe lead dancer and go on an international tour. Taking our ballet to the world and seeing me shine on the biggest stage was Grandma's long-cherished wish. I've endured unbearable pain for this. Regardless of the bitter cold and scorching heat, I practice in the practice room day after day. My feet are worn out, and the seep blood from my ulcerated wound repeatedly. Every pair of ballet shoes is stained with my bloodstains. I've put in so much blood and sweat. Why should I just give it away? Watching Franklin approaching me step by step with a golf club in his hand, I lowered my head deeply, and my heart felt like it was being repeatedly flayed by a knife. At this moment, I was completely defeated. This man who said he would stay together for life had given all his favoritism to Scarlett. Favoritism to the point that he was willing to break my leg just to pave the way for Scarlett. Looking at the bloody wound on my hand, the suffocation of being locked in a car in high temperatures swept over me again. Before the competition, he locked me in a car and abandoned me in the wild. The high temperature inside the car quickly dehydrated my body. I kept calling for help, but there was nothing but a hollow echo. Until I fainted, the instinct to survive burst out with great power, and I used my hands to smash the car window and escape. Grievance, anger, and disappointment coalesced into a complex emotion, making my voice shrill. Franklin, you once said you would always love me and protect me. How could you be so cruel to me? Dancing is my lifelong dream. Do you really want to break my wings for Scarlett? I broke free from the bodyguard's grasp and knelt at his feet without dignity. Franklin, please, let me participate in the competition, please? Seeing my face full of tears, a look of heartache appeared on Franklin's face, and he gently placed his hand on my head. Seeing him hesitate, I breathed a sigh of relief and prepared to go put on makeup. At this moment, Franklin's phone rang urgently. It was a video call from Scarlett. In the video, she was standing on the rooftop of an 18-story building, her swollen eyes. Franklin, becoming the lead dancer has always been my dream, but as long as Nancy is around, I'll always be second best. She wiped her tears. I'm sorry, Franklin. I'm not as skilled as her, and I've let you down. Seeing her with one foot over the railing, Franklin's voice changed with anxiety. Scarlett, don't do anything stupid. Don't worry, I'll take care of all the problems for you. After speaking, he pointed the phone camera at me. His two bodyguards held me down tightly. In my terrified gaze, Franklin approached me step by step. I shouted at the top of my lungs, Franklin, dancing is as important as my life to me. It also carries Grandma's expectations for me. If my leg is broken, I won't be able to dance for the rest of my life. Please. Tears seemed to appear in Franklin's eyes. Nancy, don't be afraid. It'll only hurt for a moment. Forgive me. Even if you can't dance in the future, you still have me. But if Scarlett loses the competition, she'll have nothing. After speaking, he ignored my pleas and slammed the golf club hard on my leg. Ah! My shrill voice echoed in the empty backstage, and bone-deep pain swept over my entire body. I curled up weakly on the ground, looking at my bloody and blurred left leg. At this moment, the belief I had built with years of pride and effort collapsed. My dream of being a dancer was completely shattered. Seeing me like this, Franklin ended the video call and hugged me in his arms. Nancy, don't hate me. Scarlett is my mother's savior, so I can't just stand by and watch something happen to her. Don't worry, I'll be responsible for the rest of your life. I could no longer control the hatred in my heart and slapped him in the face. Responsible? How will you be responsible? My parents passed away when I was very young. My grandma and I have been dependent on each other since childhood. In order for me to learn to dance, she had to work in a restaurant during the day and stand by the trash can at night picking up cardboard boxes that others didn't want. One time, there was a torrential rain, and Grandma was hit by a motorcycle going against traffic and coughed up blood on the ground while trying to pick up a few bottles that had been blown away by the wind. When I came home from school, I held Grandma and cried desperately, refusing to learn to dance anymore. Grandma gently stroked my head with her thin hand. Good girl, Grandma doesn't hurt. Grandma liked to dance when she was young, but that era was destined to bury the talent of most girls. You can shine with beautiful brilliance on the stage. This is Grandma's glory, and it's also my expectation for you. For Grandma's ideal, and even more for my own full of love, every step we took was filled with unspeakable sadness and bloody tears. Franklin's word responsible was just a justification for clearing competitors for Scarlett. Ridiculous. The Song family and the Franklin family were longtime friends, and the two were childhood sweethearts. When they were 12 years old, the two families were traveling together when a gas leak occurred in the characteristic homestay they were staying in. Scarlett carried Franklin's mother out, disregarding the danger. But her own mother died in that accident, along with her unborn child. Since then, the entire Franklin family has treated Scarlett as their own daughter. Later, Scarlett's father remarried, and her stepmother was extremely harsh to her, so the Franklin family simply took her into their home and responded to every request. The Franklin family once asked him to marry Scarlett, but he strictly refused. He firmly said that he had always treated her as a younger sister, and that the person he loved was me. But he hurt the me he deeply loved again and again for Scarlett, whom he didn't love. How ironic. I wasn't without questioning the relationship between the two, but as soon as I opened my mouth, it would cause him to fly into a rage. I've already made Scarlett sad for you. Why do you have to be so harsh on her? I sat lifelessly on the ground like a corpse, crying silently. When Franklin saw me like this, his eyes slightly red. He walked to my side and held my hand tightly. Nancy, don't worry. I know my limits. You just won't be able to dance in the future, but it won't affect your walkie-ing. He said such shameless words with a sincere face, as if what he inflicted on me was not pain, but a gift. I leaned my head against the wall, and a dense pain came from my heart. I thought he would only make me sad at most, but I didn't expect him to hurt my body as well. For that love at first sight, and for his words, Nancy Jiang, I love you. Even if Grandma is gone, I will shelter you from the wind and rain and protect you. I have followed him unswervingly all these years, doing my best to be a perfect girlfriend. But of all the storms I've experienced these years, which one did you bring? A pungent feeling arose in my throat, and a pungent sensation rushed straight to my eyes. I stared at Franklin for a long time, tears dripping on the ground. Franklin, let's break up. Franklin's hand, which was wiping my tears, froze there, and his whole lips were trembling. What did you say? Break up? An unbelievable look appeared in his eyes. I've already said I'll be responsible for you, and the hotel for the wedding has already been booked. You're going to break up with me for this small thing? I leaned my head against the wall and sneered silently. So, in his eyes, I broke a leg and lost my life's dream, and this was actually a small thing. Franklin restrained his anger and wanted to hug me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be fierce to you. We've been together for so many years. Are you really willing to just break up with me like this? Seeing my leg constantly bleeding, he sighed. There are many things you don't understand yet. I'll slowly explain them to you later. Now I'll take you to the hospital to treat your injuries. Just as his hand was about to touch me, his phone rang again. It was still Scarlett's call. Woo-woo, brother Franklin. I just finished receiving the award and wanted to go out to celebrate, but just as I was about to get in the car, a few drunk men stopped me and wanted to touch my butt. I'm so scared. 5:55. Franklin's pupils contracted sharply, revealing his anger. Damn it, those animals. Scarlett, don't be afraid. Send me your location, and I'll go there now. Scarlett's voice was hesitant with a hint of suppressed joy. Brother Franklin, but won't Sister Nancy be upset? I don't want to make things difficult for you. Franklin's face changed, and his tone became cold. She wouldn't dare. If she dares to stop me, I'll break her other leg too. After hanging up the phone, his expression returned to normal. Nancy, don't misunderstand. That little girl Scarlett is too sensible. If I don't say it like this, she won't let me go. You wait for me here, and I'll take care of Scarlett and then come back to take you to the hospital. I wasn't surprised at all by this result. No matter how much he said he loved me, as soon as Scarlett appeared, I had to take a back seat, without exception. At this moment, my heart felt like it was being dug out by a knife. Although I couldn't feel the pain, there was a numb emptiness. Seeing his resolute figure, I called out in a hoarse voice, Franklin. Franklin paused, but when he turned around, his face was already filled with anger. Nancy Sue. Haven't I already told you that Scarlett is in danger, being harassed by drunk men? You're also a girl, don't you know how scared she would be in this situation? In order to take care of your feelings, Scarlett has already decided not to let me go. Why can't you be a little kinder to her? Thousands of complex emotions condensed in my chest. For a moment, I didn't know whether to cry or laugh. Franklin was still complaining endlessly. I supported myself with my broken leg and crawled to his side with difficulty, taking out my phone from his bag, which he had confiscated when I was locked in the car. How ridiculous. In order not to let his childhood sweetheart lose the competition, and in order not to let me get rescued, he actually took my phone away. He never thought that in the high temperature of 50 or 60 degrees Celsius, every minute was torture. If I hadn't smashed the car window in the end, I would have become a dried corpse by now. Perhaps afraid that I would call the police, Franklin snatched the phone back again. He locked me in a storage room. Be good, you wait for me here. After speaking, he turned and left. A gust of cold wind blew, and my skin shivered. In order to prevent some expensive ballet shoes from getting moldy, the air conditioning would always be turned on to 10 degrees below zero. I was only wearing a tank top and would freeze to death if I was locked in here. I desperately patted the glass, shouting at Franklin's back in a hoarse voice, Franklin, I won't call the police, please let me out. It's so cold here, I'll freeze to death if I stay here for too long. But there was nothing but a hollow echo. I don't know how long passed, but my hands and feet had become ice cold and numb, and I couldn't even make a sound. I curled my body together, trying to give myself a little bit of warmth. But it was useless. Soon, my body couldn't feel the cold anymore, and there was even a strange warmth. I knew this was a sign of hypothermia. But there was nothing I could do, and I could only watch my life slip away, slowly closing my eyes. When I opened my eyes again, my nose was filled with a strong smell of disinfectant. The doctor in front of me handed me a glass of water with his slender fingers. How did you get locked in such a hidden storage room? Were you kidnapped or coerced? Don't be afraid, if you need help, I'll call the police for you. I opened my mouth, but tears started to flow before I could say anything. Thank God, I had escaped death from Franklin's hands again. Meeting my searching gaze, the doctor named Sean patiently explained, I'm here with my sister for the dance competition. At night, she left something behind in the backstage, and I saw bloodstains on the ground, so I followed them all the way to the storage room. Luckily, I wasn't too late, or you would have turned into an ice cube by now. He looked at me for a long time and said with some regret, I know you, a genius in the dance world that comes along once in a few decades. It's a pity about your leg. You won't be able to dance anymore. My face was as pale as paper, and I buried my head in my shoulders, trembling nonstop. Sean stood beside me somewhat at a loss, and handed me a medical report. Miss Sue, you're pregnant. What? I looked at the medical report in disbelief, my mind racing, and I almost fainted. I put my hand on my lower abdomen, feeling the small life inside my body. In just 10 minutes, I had made a decision. Giving birth to a child in a loveless environment would be the greatest harm to her. My tears streamed down, and my heart seemed to be torn into pieces. When I looked up again, I looked at Sean firmly. "Doctor, please help me schedule an abortion, thank you." Sean was stunned for a moment, then nodded. I leaned on the hospital bed, and every breath pulled at my chest with bursts of pain. I refused Sean's offer to call the police for me. The Franklin family was a big and powerful family in Northville. If Sean got involved, it would only cause endless trouble. Moreover, without being able to strike the enemy with a fatal blow, it would undoubtedly be stirring up a hornet's nest. He gave me a phone, and I logged into my social media account. As soon as I went in, I saw that Scarlett had updated her status. She was lying on the hospital bed with a rosy complexion, and Franklin was carefully feeding her a bowl of porridge. The caption read, "Thank you to the most important person in my life. No matter what happens to me, you will always be there to protect me." Franklin liked it in seconds and commented, "Silly girl, you are the person in my life too. I will protect you forever." Then what am I? That's right, Scarlett is the most important person in his life. So important that he can become an outlaw for her, and hurt me again and again for her. I wiped away my tears, suppressed the urge to question him, and a cold smile appeared on the corner of my mouth. Before, because I loved him so much, I always wanted to compete with Scarlett. As for now, I just want them to pay the price for what they have done. I commented below, "May you both live happily ever after." Then I blacklisted both of them and asked Sean to help me get a forensic evaluation of my injuries. Just as I was preparing evidence, Franklin suddenly pushed the door open and entered. His face was pale, and his eyes were filled with anger. "Nancy Sue, what are you doing again? We have so many mutual friends. Do you know how much harm it will cause to Scarlett if you just casually say something like that? The wedding date is approaching, and you're making such a scene, making it seem like there's really something going on between us." I looked at Franklin coldly. "You broke my leg for her. Are you still saying there's nothing between you?" Franklin's eyes darted around, with a hint of guilt. "I've already said that things aren't what you think. Scarlett, she..." Franklin opened his mouth, but couldn't seem to find a reasonable explanation. He softened his tone, "Okay, stop making a fuss. Anyway, after you become Mrs. Franklin, you can spend as much money as you want. You just need to help me have a child as soon as possible. Why bother going out and dancing? What's more, Scarlett is the Franklin family's savior. It's right for you to repay her." I was trembling with anger, and my voice was filled with uncontrollable fear. "Franklin, Scarlett saved your mom, not my mom. If you want to repay her, why don't you break your own leg? Why do you have to fulfill your own high moral ground by hurting me?" I touched my left leg, which was wrapped in thick bandages, crying and hitting the hospital bed. Franklin's eyes were filled with disappointment. "Nancy, I thought you could understand my good intentions. I didn't expect you to think of me like this. Do you think I don't feel pain when I hit you? I'm doing this for our future. My mom heard about this and her impression of you has greatly improved. You'll have a much better life after you marry into the family." Hearing Franklin's words, I was shocked by his shamelessness. At this moment, Scarlett, who was following behind Franklin, suddenly covered her mouth and screamed, "Oh, Sister Nancy, I'm really sorry. I didn't know Brother Franklin broke your leg for me." 5:55. I looked at her coldly, my tone filled with sarcasm. "He even gave you a live video of him hitting me. How could you not know?" Scarlett looked slightly embarrassed, and walked to my side with a pot of pork bone seaweed soup as if she was offering a treasure. "Sister is injured, quickly drink some soup to nourish yourself." A fishy smell came over, and I saw large pieces of green seaweed floating in the milky white oily soup, causing my stomach to churn. Seeing me turn my head aside, Franklin's eyes turned cold. "Nancy, Scarlett was afraid you would be unhappy, so she specially cooked this soup for you. She doesn't even mind you humiliating her like that in your social media account. Hurry up and drink the soup." I was truly thankful for her generosity. I turned my head aside, my eyes slightly sore. Franklin, haven't I told you that I'm severely allergic to seaweed? Franklin was stunned, seemingly remembering something, but this is Scarlett's good intentions after all. Just drink a little bit, don't let her down. I took a long breath, my voice filled with a thick nasal tone. Do I have to die from an allergic reaction in front of you for you to be satisfied? Before the words were finished, Scarlett's tears gushed out. She grabbed my hand and slapped herself in the face. I'm sorry, it's all my fault for making sister angry. Sister can hit me to vent your anger, but don't blame brother Franklin. I'll pour the soup out now. Seeing Scarlett crying, Franklin W. as naturally heartbroken. He frowned slightly, his tone serious and unquestionable. Your hand is burned for this bowl of soup. How can you say you'll pour it out? Franklin took the soup and walked to my side. Drink. I closed my eyes in annoyance, not wanting to see them anymore. My negative attitude made Franklin completely angry. He grabbed my hair and poured the soup into my mouth. The fishy taste ran through my stomach from my throat, making me nauseous. I struggled desperately and knocked the soup bowl out of Franklin's hand. Ah! A sharp scream almost shook the dust off the hospital room. Scarlett covered her face and cried intermittently, Brother Franklin, my face hurts so much, will I be disfigured? Woo-woo, if sister doesn't like me winning the championship at the dance competition, then I'll withdraw. Why do you have to ruin my face? Seeing a red mark on Scarlett's face, Franklin was furious. Nancy Jiang, I'm the one who broke your leg, it has nothing to do with Scarlett. Apologize immediately. An itchy feeling swept over my body, and my ears made a series of buzzing sounds. The suffocating feeling I had as a child swept over me again. My throat was burning, and I couldn't hear what Franklin was saying at all. Seeing me like this, his eyes were filled with mockery. Nancy Sue, can't you stop pretending for one day? You're usually as strong as an ox, but now you're pretending to be weak? How can a few pieces of seaweed do anything to you? I think you're not allergic. You just want to deliberately make trouble for Scarlett. I leaned weakly on the bed, wanting to call for help, but I couldn't make a sound. Seeing me like this, Franklin thought I was deliberately trying to embarrass them and became even more angry. He gritted his teeth hatefully. Nancy Sue, you're impossible to reason with, aren't you? Scarlett said in a soft voice, Brother Franklin, don't argue with sister over this small thing. At most, I'll pour water on her too, and I'll call it even. Seeing Franklin nod, Scarlett took the thermostat kettle next to her and poured it on me. Ah! The boiling water at 100 degrees cut across my body like knives, and a burst of piercing burning sensation swept over my entire body. Tears streamed down my face, and I let out a heart-wrenching cry. Franklin frowned slightly. Nancy Jiang, it's just 45 degrees hot water. Do you have to be so dramatic? My shouting attracted Sean, who was doing his rounds. Seeing me lying on the bed, sweating profusely, he rushed in. At this time, large patches of red spots and streaks of blood had appeared on my body. The areas that had been scalded with boiling water had large blisters, and some scalded areas had begun to ooze a large amount of fluid. Against the backdrop of the other snow-white skin, the blood red on my body looked all the more shocking. The shouting had used up my last bit of strength, and I collapsed weakly to the side, gradually entering a state of shock. Sean and the nurses quickly put me on oxygen. Franklin realized that my situation was very bad, and he was stunned in place. Sean checked the wounds on my body and saw that Scarlett still had a piece of seaweed hanging on her head. His voice was filled with anger. What are you to the patient? She's severely allergic to seaweed. Even a little bit can cause suffocation. How could you let her eat this? Franklin's face was as pale as paper. She is my fiancée. I didn't know she was allergic to seaweed. I thought it would be okay to drink a little seaweed soup. Sean's eyes turned cold. Oh, so you're the fiancé who broke her leg for his mistress. I thought she was your enemy. Franklin had never been confronted like this before, and his face darkened. Sean said to the nurses next to him, check the surveillance to see what happened to the burns on the patient's body. If someone deliberately hurt her, call the police immediately. Franklin threw the thermostat kettle on the ground. Irritably, his eyes seemingly spitting fire, I haven't even settled the score with your hospital yet. The thermostat clearly showed 45 degrees. Why did it become boiling water? Why? If it wasn't for you negligent staff, how could my fiancé have suffered so much? If I had known it was boiling water, how could I have agreed to pour it on my fiancé? An unspeakable heartache flashed across Franklin's face, and he painfully tugged at his hair. Just before he was about to say that he would do everything at all costs to cure his fiancée, otherwise I will make your hospital pay, the cleaning lady holding a mop said with a disgusted expression, the number you saw was the set temperature, not the real-time temperature. Everyone knows that you have to boil the water first before it slowly drops to the set temperature. Didn't you see the steam coming out of the kettle before you poured water on someone? Stupid. The cleaning lady rolled her eyes and walked away with her mop. Franklin stood there as if struck by lightning, muttering to himself, how could it be? How could it be like this? Sean glared at him with disgust. Please get out of the way. Don't delay me from saving the patient. After seeing Sean's cold and handsome face clearly, Franklin suddenly broke down. Change people. Find me a female doctor. Don't think I don't know what you're up to. I can tell you like Nancy. Let me tell you, don't daydream, she's mine. Amidst the stunned silence, Sean turned away coldly. You're sick. Unexpectedly, Franklin grabbed Sean's shirt, and in the ensuing struggle, the medical report in Sean's hand fell to the ground. After seeing my name, his pupils constricted. Nancy, Nancy, you're pregnant. You're really pregnant. When I woke up again, 10 days had passed. Sean had snatched me back from the brink of death while I was in severe shock. I was incredibly grateful to him. A stranger, yet he had saved me from dire straits time and time again. Thanks to the joint efforts of burn specialists, most of my skin could recover, but scarring in the more severe areas was inevitable. Perhaps it was my imagination, but I saw an unreadable pity in Sean's eyes. Sean's sister visited me twice after I was hospitalized, and seeing the genius once revered by ballet dancers reduced to this state, she couldn't help but shed tears. Franklin, who had been waiting outside the door, finally had the opportunity to come to my bedside. After a few days of not seeing him, his eyes revealed exhaustion. He wanted to touch me, but abruptly withdrew his hand. After a long while, he looked at me with tears in his eyes. I'm sorry, Nancy. Seeing you like this, I really want to bear that pain for you. He pressed my hand tightly against his face. I will make it up to you in the future. As soon as you are discharged, we will get married immediately. Let me protect you from now on. I touched my stomach and stared blankly ahead. Then he gently kissed my hair and held me in his arms. But can you drop the charges against Scarlett? After all, she didn't intentionally pour hot water on you. Seeing my questioning look, he said, the hospital called the police after you were rushed to the emergency room. She's still at home, waiting to be summoned. What I mean is, can you settle out of court? She's only 20 years old and just won the dance competition. Her future is bright. If word gets out that she went to jail at this time, her life will be ruined. I thought I would be heartbroken after hearing these words, but besides the habitual bitterness, there was nothing else. I looked at him coldly. What if I don't agree? Franklin's expression changed. Nancy, don't push me. I really can't let anything happen to Scarlett. Seeing that I didn't budge, Franklin said in a trembling voice a sentence that completely extinguished the last bit of warmth I had for him. Nancy, if you don't agree, then we won't get married, and the Franklins won't acknowledge the child in your belly. Your health isn't good. You definitely won't be willing to abort a child you finally conceived. Seeing my pale face, Franklin seemed to have some remorse. Can you bear to let your child be born without a father and be pointed at and called a bastard? Nancy, be good. Don't be willful. For the sake of our child, just endure this one time. I looked at the man in front of me in disbelief, feeling extremely desolate. How biased can a person's heart be to say such things? This time I didn't cry, but suddenly burst into wild laughter, laughing almost maniacally, laughing with tears streaming down my face. I pointed at Franklin and said good several times in a row. He hugged me excitedly. I knew Nancy was the most obedient. Are you so happy that you're going crazy because you know my mom agreed to let us get married? Prepare yourself. 3 days after you're discharged, we'll go get our marriage license. I'm going back to tell Scarlett the good news. The little girl has been restless these past few days, she's been so scared. Watching Franklin's departing figure, I threw myself on the bed and wailed. After calming down, I sent a message to Sean, Dr. Sean, I want the abortion advanced. I can't wait 3 more days. Without asking anything, Sean arranged for the best gynecological expert for me. The doctor told me not to worry, I just had a retroverted uterus and wasn't easily prone to pregnancy, one abortion wouldn't affect anything. I lay in bed, drinking the pork bone seaweed soup Sean brought, and transferred all the money I had to him. He had saved me time and time again, and I had no way to repay him. Sean didn't accept it, but asked me what my plans were for the future. I thought about it and said I was going back to Southport. Since Grandma passed away, I had followed Franklin all the way to Northville. I had loved once, and all that was left was scars. The air in Southport still held Grandma's faint presence. I missed home. I looked at my left leg, which I still couldn't move very well, and smiled bitterly. If Grandma knew that I had hurt myself so badly for so-called love, I don't know how heartbroken she would be. Sean's eyes showed surprise. I'm going to Southport for an exchange program, you can ride with me. 3 days later, I was discharged early. Along the way, I had loved too tiredly and too bitterly. I used to immerse myself in that small world, refusing to let go of this rotting relationship even to the death. Now I was withdrawing, and I would never become an obstacle to his repayment to Scarlett. Of course, the surprises didn't stop there. Before leaving, I organized all the evidence of how Franklin and Scarlett had hurt me and handed it over to the police, and then had a lawyer file a lawsuit against them. Next, I placed the last piece of sealed evidence in the new house. Scarlett initially opened the gas valve at the bed and breakfast because her mother was pregnant with a second child, and she thought the arrival of her brother would affect her position. She did more than she thought she would do, but her mother discovered it. Scarlett's mother was on the floor and said she was evil-minded, that she would educate her when she got out. Scarlett panicked and ran away from her mother. When she saw the Franklins come, she wanted to find a way out for herself, so she pinned the blame on Franklin's mother. Unexpectedly, Scarlett's father had already cheated, so he took the opportunity to get rid of Scarlett's mother. After the mistress came into power, her good days were gone, so she desperately tried to please the Franklins. Because I was the biggest obstacle between her and Franklin, she tried to eliminate me in every possible way. Scarlett was hateful, but the culprit of everything was Franklin. If it weren't for his repeated indulgence, how could I have been hurt time and time again? I sat in Sean's car, my left leg still throbbing from time to time. Franklin must have seen what I had left him, my phone vibrated like a motorcycle. Sean tilted his head and looked at me, your ex-boyfriend's calling, don't you want to answer it and make things clear? I took out the SIM card and broke it in my hand, I've already made it very clear. If he's still a person, don't appear in my world. In Southport, I felt an unprecedented relaxation. I grew flowers and plants in the small courtyard I bought for Grandma and opened a coffee shop. Because of its niche, exquisite decor and excellent taste, it actually became a popular spot. I heard Sean say that after I left, Franklin went crazy when he saw that bottle, digging 3 feet into the ground to find me. I took a sip of coffee and smiled coldly, he was still as self-centered as ever. I was curious why Sean hadn't returned to Northville, he smiled and said, I quit my job and inherited the family business. Only then did I realize that his family was actually the richest in Southport. The court's verdict finally came down after several months. Franklin and Scarlett were sentenced to 6 months and 3 months in prison, respectively, for intentional injury. The total amount of compensation for my losses was $6,580,000. I didn't refuse the compensation with false pride. When the lawyer transferred the money to me, he said that Franklin was in very poor condition and wanted to see me. I looked at the balance in the account and said coldly, there's nothing to see, and I don't need to know about his situation in the future. Half a year later, just as I was about to close up, I heard someone call my name in a trembling voice, Nancy, I finally found you. I looked up and it was Franklin. After half a year, he was gaunt and unrecognizable, his cheeks deeply sunken. He coughed softly, his voice barely containing his excitement, Nancy, I'm so happy to see you. I've kicked Scarlett out of the house. If it weren't for her, how could We have ended up like this? He buried his head in his hands. I know saying sorry is useless, but I still hope you can give me a chance to make it up to you. Nancy, the things I said that day were just to keep you from pursuing my mother's savior. How could I not acknowledge my own child? Do you know, when I saw you were pregnant, I was so excited that I didn't sleep for 2 days. But when I went to the new house and saw our child in a bottle, I really wanted to die. I always thought you loved me, that you were willing to endure a little grievance for me. I didn't expect your heart to be so cruel that you were willing to abort our child. I slammed the rag in the sink. The splintering sound made Franklin shut his mouth instantly. I looked at him quietly, the initial thrill gone from my eyes. Time is the best medicine. My expression was unreadable. Why would I have a child with an irresponsible person? You hurt me again and again for Scarlett, hurt my body, ruined my dreams, and now what right do you have to say I'm cruel? Franklin, hurt is hurt. Don't use the name of love as a fig leaf. Why won't you admit your fickleness and infidelity? Franklin's face turned red and then white. Nancy, that's not it. During the years I was with you, you took such good care of me that I naively thought I could rely on your love to do whatever I wanted. You are too dazzling and too perfect. So I always selfishly wanted to keep you by my side, completely and utterly mine. He squatted on the ground in pain. Although I don't like Scarlett, I was happy to see her use some tricks for me. I never wanted to hurt you, I just enjoyed the pleasure of two women fighting over me. A wave of nausea rose in my stomach, and I kicked him out. Unexpectedly, in the following days, Franklin became like a clinging plaster. He did those little things for me that used to make me cry when we were dating, but now they were just annoying. One day, he knelt outside with a large bouquet of roses and a diamond ring, and when he saw me come out, he reeked of alcohol and lunged at me. Nancy, can you hug me? I haven't been feeling well lately. I went to the hospital and the doctor said it was serious and needed a follow-up. What are you doing? Sean, who had rushed over, saw the scene and pushed him to the ground. Franklin looked at Sean and coughed violently. He pointed at Sean with trembling fingers. Nancy, you don't want to accept me. Is it because of this man? Yes. I was about to deny it, but Sean agreed before I could. Franklin's eyes were full of despair. He looked at me sadly. If I inflict the harm I inflicted on you on myself, can you give me a little bit of your attention again? After he said that, in my horrified gaze, he picked up a chair from the shop door and smashed it hard against his leg. Sean told me to leave first, and he would handle this matter. From then on, Franklin disappeared from my world. I asked what happened. Sean said that Franklin had lung cancer. Since I left, he had developed a drinking problem, and it was already too late when he was diagnosed. He was silent for a long time when he learned about this, and then left Southport. He said he hoped Sean could take good care of me, otherwise he wouldn't let him go even as a ghost. I thought I would have some reaction when I heard this news later, but it was unexpectedly calm. I stopped paying attention to his news and just focused on running my business. I refused Sean's pursuit. Loving someone was too tiring. I didn't want to repeat the old story. A week later, I saw a news report that Scarlett had been splashed with a pot of boiling water in the face in a shopping mall, and her face was scalded. It was Franklin. I shook my head. What was the point of him doing this? Half a year later, Franklin died of illness. He wanted to see me one last time before he died, but I refused. He gave all his property to me, hoping that I would be happy for the rest of my life. I stood by the window, quietly looking outside. The past was like smoke, everything was no longer important.